So, a bit about my backstory. So, I've been shooting travel content for the past 8 years now. So, currently, I work full-time as a freelancer shooting for brands, for travel films, across different kinds of topics like airline companies, as well as travel operators, and documentary channels as well. But this wasn't the case. Back then when I was in school. I was actually a university graduate in business, but during my time in school, during the second year, I got bored of studying business, and that's when I picked up my first camera. And during that point of time, it was a period of time when Casey Neistat, I'm sure some of you guys know about him, he was posting daily vlogs on a regular, and that really inspired me and it got me out there to shoot a vlog about myself every time I went out traveling. And that's how this filmmaking journey began. And then after that, after a few years, I then entered into a company called The Travel Intern, and that's where I then honed my skills in travel filmmaking and then moved on to being freelance. And today, this is where I am today. I'm actually making films about cultures around the world, and this shooting about cultures around the world. So as you can see on the left here, there's actually a picture of me doing a film of the Zapotec culture in Mexico. So this is actually from the Oaxaca culture in Mexico, where you would see them celebrating the Day of the Dead. And on the right over here, it's me and my friend over there, Akif, who is, we went over to Indonesia, in West Papua. We were making a film about the Dani tribes of West Papua. So today, I'd like to share a little bit more about my thought processes and my habits. So these aren't really like tips and tricks to really take you to the next level, but it's more to help you think deeper into this idea of travel filmmaking and how to build this concept and then go out there and shoot and understand this whole idea better for yourself. So the ways of thinking, the habits, and the things that I do when I reach a destination itself. So firstly, you're not just shooting a place, you're telling the story of how it feels to be there. So most people approach travel filmmaking as visual checklists, landmarks after landmarks, drone spots after drone spots. We often go onto Google Maps looking for the key locations where we can find the best angles, find the best light, and then looking out for the key tourist attractions that you see when you look out the travel blogs as well. But actually, these places aren't things that you are remembered for. They're actually remembered for how they make you feel. So I always see this as something like when you reach a location and when you experience something and it brought you immense joy, or a feeling of nostalgia, or even a feeling of belonging. So I would like to, when I go to a destination, I usually try to embrace the idea of opening a new pair of eyes, seeing things in a different way, seeing the new ways of living, new food, new traditions, new crafts that the people there hone themselves, the new cultures, even small things like new modes of transport, the way people dress there, or even the new ways of how people interact with each other. Some countries, you go there, they interact with each other by bowing and stuff like that. Some, you go there when they actually hug each other and open arms. So these are the different things that actually builds a country and shows the nuances of the country. And then with these ideas, you can take it into your travel filmmaking to build an idea that's more immersive and engaging altogether. So your job, after filling all of this, your job is not to document, but to translate this feeling of this location into film. And these are the tiny details and small experiences that make you feel a certain way about a place. So, I'd like to bring you to a film that I made of Greece itself. So this is something that I experienced and really wanted to show was the interaction I had with the people over there. So when I went to Greece, I was actually there for a month long. I was remote working there itself, and I took a lot of time to go around walking the streets aimlessly and just looking at things. And I'm sure you have heard about how like the Greek culture itself, the Greek people seem a little bit standoff and a little bit grumpy at times. But this is something that I experienced differently when I got there. So I wanted to showcase this experience in the video that I'm about to show you here. So these are some of the people that I met when I was wandering aimlessly, and I got to document their daily lives. Many of them opened up to me. And so something that I wanted to capture in this film was the feeling of being welcome. I documented quite a number of these folks over here and their crafts as well. So we have knife maker from Hania, which is a small town in Greece, the olive farmers over here, people from the restaurant which I went to like 5 times just to eat their seafood, and then this is from a vineyard in Greece itself. So you may be wondering, how do you get to shoot all these people itself? And you may be like hiding behind using a 70-200 lens, trying to like snipe them and stuff like that. But actually, the simple answer to this would just be to do the simple smile test. So I actually learned this from one of my inspirations, which is Brandon Lee. So in one of his videos, he talked about this idea of doing the smile test. So what do? You actually just look at the person, the subject that you want to film, hold up the camera, smile at them, and see whether they feel comfortable on camera. And at that point of time, don't snap a photo yet. What you need to do next is, if they are comfortable with it, go up to them and strike a conversation. Don't hold up your camera immediately, because once you strike a conversation with them, that's when you realize that, hey, maybe this person is able to show you a little bit more about what he does. And if they are comfortable enough, they may even bring you into their world itself. And sometimes, some of the experiences you get are sometimes the most unforgettable ones on your travel as well. So for example, this knife maker in Hania, every day I would walk past his shop, and then I'll see him making knives, and I'll say hello to him. After a while, I went in and I said, hello, I'm a filmmaker, and can I shoot some shots of you? And then he was like, what are you doing here? Then I was like, oh, I make videos for a living. He said, then why are you working on your travel? And I was like, oh, this is just something that I do. And then he was like, okay, sure, come, let's make a video together. And then I spent like another 4 or 5 hours with him, chatting with him, shooting him, and even having coffee and a meal together. So these are the special moments that actually make my travels a little bit more interesting as well. So this is the magic of Greece. Sorry, technical error. On the left.
It can be intimidating to find yourself in the land where God wants you. On first impression, Greece seemed untouchable, like a sacred room I intend out to. New adventures of our world. This is the magic of Greece.
So in this video, with wandering aimlessly around Greece, I realized that one thing that really struck me was how welcoming they were. And then I wanted to encapsulate this feeling of welcome into this video, and that's how I came about with this video. Okay, moving on to point number 2. So Point number 2 is let the environment shape your story. So this is one thing I always tell everyone to do when they are shooting travel. When you touch down in a location, don't take out your camera immediately. Observe before you shoot, don't just arrive and roll, and let the place speak to you first. So oftentimes you go out to a new location, immediately you try and start shooting a lot of things, but just pause for a minute. Go out there, feel the place first, breathe the air, observe before you take your camera out and start shooting. Always let the place speak to you first. You probably get a sensing of how the place makes you feel, and then you will have an idea of what you can capture and the emotion that you want to bring out when you are at this location. So, how does the place make you feel? So ask yourself these questions. How does the place make you feel? What do you hear from this place? Are there specific sounds that you hear? Specific animals that you hear itself, like the birds itself? Is it different from what you have at home? Or do you hear a certain kind of music as well? A certain kind of beat that is lingering from the town itself? And what do you smell? The food, the different smells as well, the different sights you see, and what is unique about the place? And also, another question I like to ask myself is, who seems to own the land? Sometimes it can be the locals when you're in a small town. It can even be the tourists that are the ones that are owning the place itself. It can be the animals, or even in a location, for example, where nature may be the one that has the majority of the whole in the town itself, as compared to a place like, for example, in Singapore, where it's more like high-rise buildings. What's the impact of nature on the location itself? So, always take 5 to 10 minutes to walk around without filming. Note down what actually strikes your attention the most, and strikes you as a person the most, other than the tourist landmarks and things we travel to see. Because the best travel stories are often not scripted, they unfold through observation. So this is actually a video I made of Venice. I was actually in Venice shooting a documentary about the Venice Carnival. And actually this video that I'm going to show you is a video that I did after the shoot itself. And actually, during the day, there were so many people in the Venice Carnival wearing beautiful masks and decked out in all the different costumes. However, when it came to the night itself, it felt very different. And this was something that struck me, and I really wanted to showcase that. And here is the video. So this short little video actually, I felt it was really different from what I was capturing in the day itself, because it was all about the hype of the Venice Carnival itself. But when it came to night, it gave me that kind of peace, the kind of calm and nostalgia that I was feeling, that lingered in the air. The lights bloomed, and everything kind of slowed down. And this different feeling that I felt was something that I wanted to capture in this short video that I took in that day itself. Yeah, some scenes. Okay, moving on to point number 3, finding your narrative tension. So what does this mean? So basically when you reach a location, usually every place has a story in motion, and all you have to do is you have to go and find it. So ask yourself this question, is what's fading or thriving in this location? What emotions can you lean into for the location itself? Is it nostalgia, wonder, loneliness, or fear? So I'd like to share with you a little bit about a story a story of my time traveling back in Tanzania in 2022. So I was actually on a documentary trip with an NGO over in Tanzania for about 2 months with these people over at the African School of Storytelling. So basically this organization, they are actually an organization that encourages African filmmakers to take the path of being a filmmaker and not be afraid of what's in front of them because of their lack of resources in terms of like camera gear and stuff like that. So during my time there, I spent a lot of time with being in the safari with these people, being in the bush, and also a lot of time with the tribesmen that they were documenting as well, as I was shadowing some of them as well. So I had a lot of footage, and then I was thinking, okay, maybe it's time for me to make like a video about this whole experience itself. But I wanted to do something a little bit different from the usual wildlife safari videos that you see. So I named this video The Survival of the Fittest, and what I tried to do in this video was to do a visual juxtaposition between us and animals in our hunt for survival. So this is the survival of the fittest. Yeah, so for this video itself, the thought that struck me was when I was witnessing everything was that everyone in the safari, we are all fighting for survival in our own way. No matter if you're an animal or if you're a human, no matter if you're prey or predator, the lions looking for food, the wildebeests are running away for survival. The tribes themselves are looking for sustenance in the form of like animals to eat in terms of monkeys and mongoose. And it was this idea that came to me that I was witnessing, and I wanted to bring an imagery juxtaposition to this where I use both hunts and in the pursuit of the final product that they're going for, their food. I use both of them and I led them into the final hunt where they were then rewarded with their product. So sometimes some ideas from your introspective thoughts can actually bring you the most interesting film concepts. So, to point number 4, always remember to shoot the glue and not just the goal. I think we often get carried away by the beauty of places and tend to forget the simple shots that connect the dots. So it's not just about the best shots, it's also about the shots that actually make your story make sense. So every time you're shooting a certain sequence or a certain subject or idea, always ask yourself these questions. What led up to this? What followed? And what details that you can take that will actually accentuate the story that you're telling. So I often see this in shots that showcase textures, colors, and lights, and these clips will often make your film make more sense and also help your audience immerse in these stories more deeply. The in-between clips that make your video feel whole. It can even be footsteps before you arrive, the way someone opens the door, or even when your subject looks at another when they are about to start a certain activity that you're about to film. It can even be the detailed shots that bridge the emotion, time, and geography of the location itself. And what I mean by this is that certain locations showcase how a place holds significance in its ancient architecture over countries which have actually crazy development in the high-rise buildings. And when you show details of these buildings itself, it showcases a little bit more about the location. So here are some examples of this. I have one photo over here. It's a view, and this here with its historical architecture. It showcases its rich history in terms of different influences from different eras of time. And on the right, we have Brazil in its favelas, where it's a little bit more underdeveloped. It showcases that people here still live in humble lives. and in Thailand with its tuk-tuks as its mode of transport, which showcases its unique culture itself, and Venice with its canals as well. I thought this shot was especially interesting as well because it kind of showcases the Venice canals in a different way, where you can see the ripples of the water itself and some of the buildings, as well as the seagulls in the frame. So these shots may be often disregarded, but when you actually apply them into your videos, it gives you an actual feel, additional feel in your video. And next, it will be the subject details as well, where you can look into hand details, eye details, and of course, different parts of the body that will actually accentuate the look. So when you go into, I will try to go into more macro details itself, because I think this showcases a person's life and actually the things that they have gone through in their lives itself. For example, the jewelry they wear, the eyes they have, and the hands and legs as well, which sometimes when they are a little bit more, rugged itself, it tells a certain story about their lives. So the last point here, this is the final piece of the puzzle. I always tell everybody to make sure that when you're going into editing, you edit it for rhythm and emotion. This often comes in terms of song choices for your film. So back to the first point about, and number 2, where I was telling you guys about always ask yourselves, what do you hear? So oftentimes when I think about this and I think back of what I hear from the location itself, I will take these ideas and bring it with me when I go and choose my songs as well. You will hear different places have different kinds of music and different kinds of art forms as well, which have different beats. And this actually accentuates the story that you are going to write. And storytelling isn't always linear, so when you're editing, don't always edit chronologically. I think this was something that a mistake that I used to make when I was beginning my travel filmmaking career as well. But always edit like you're composing a soundtrack with emotional rises, soft pauses, and impact moments itself. So edit it like how a song would be like an intro, a verse, a chorus, a climax, and of course a conclusion itself. So try to edit like how it felt in that moment, rather than what fits the track. Like how you remember it to feel as well. So for example, if a location makes me feel anxiety, or if it has this whole chaotic feel to it, when I edit the video, I will try to edit it as chaotic as my mind is as well. And silence is also a scene too. So silence can be very powerful at times, when it's a point where you want your audience to stop, to reflect, and to breathe a little bit, and to think about what they have just seen. You can use silence in this as well. So this next video is a video that I did of a short video that I made to showcase this point. It's a video of the flamenco culture in Seville. So in this video, I wanted to showcase basically a little bit more about flamenco culture. Flamenco culture is actually filled with very high intense emotions and beats. So it's actually an art form that came from Africa and Morocco side and came down over to Spain, and from there it built into this art form, this dance form that is as what we see in this film today. I wanted to use the soundtrack to bring this up, where I showcased the different people that encapsulate the flamenco culture itself. So it wasn't only the dancers, it was also the dressmaker, the guitar maker, as well as the dance classes which the dancers take part in to make their dances so effortless. So how I used this was to put these clips into the intro of the video to showcase a story building up, and then eventually pushing it harder with the dance when it reaches the climax of the song. And that's all for my 5 points here today. And something that I would like to, if you had one thing to take back from this about travel filmmaking, is to always observe your location when you're there, and always take note of all the small details around you as you're walking around. So with that, that's all for me. And the gear I use for my shoots, for all my travel shoots, I actually use the A7S III. I've been using it for 4 years now. It's been a workhorse for me. I've yet to change it to the FX3 yet because soon I will. But so the lenses that I use the 24-70 GM2 and the 7200 GM2 for my zoom lenses, and I often bring along 2 prime lenses with me, which are the 20-1.8 and the 35-1.8. The reason for my choice of these 2 lenses is because they are really small built and they fit perfectly into my gimbal as well. So when I move around and even when I change lenses between the 2 of them, I don't really have to adjust much. So it keeps me with a very nimble gear set, so that when I move around, it's easier for me to switch out gear as well, and it's easier to shoot travel. I think the most important thing about shooting travel is that you oftentimes can't really carry a lot of gear, so you have to stick to what you have, the lenses that you have, and with that, make the best out of it. So that's my gear set, and that's what I travel with on a daily basis. And that's all from me. Thank you so much for listening, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Alright, thank you so much, Jerome. Now we're heading to the Q&A as usual, at least 2 questions. So Jerome, please pick your first one.
Hello.
Side is lack of motivating back to travel.
So, in terms of the stuff you shoot for yourself, even if you're just shooting a travel video, I think going into the trip itself, you should have an idea of what you want to capture. But then, always have this idea, but go in there and let the place change it up for you. Because you have to have a motivation first before you will eventually come out with anything. Because even the shots you take will differ in terms of the story that you want to tell. So, I think before you go to travel, like maybe just ask yourself a few questions and what you want to capture and the type of shots that you want to take, and then go into there and let the place change you up, and then let those ideas and concepts change along the way as you are traveling as well. But I think with that, as you finish your trip, it's always very important to get to it fast enough, because like what I mentioned through this whole talk, a lot of it is about the emotion you feel as well. I think when you travel, a lot of us probably will feel a certain way after we come back. When you're taking the flight home, you're like, oh, this place felt this way to me. And that is that feeling that you can use to create your film. And as you are taking more and more time, that feeling will slowly fade as well. And when it fades, then the way you edit won't actually come out the way you want it to be or the way you felt as well. So actually, even for myself, when I first started making videos right at the start, the reason why I made the videos was also because I wanted to remember the place for a certain feeling. And I think using that concept, I usually try to finish it, not as soon as I can, but making sure that that feeling is still with me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have another question.
Sure.
Because nowadays, a lot of videographers told me that right now the audience like to see raw video. But just now, what you're sharing is very cinematic. Everything is nicely done. So, do you have this struggle like your audiences like to see raw videos are they, and how do you overcome it?
I think I would say this is, I guess most of the content creators today also kind of struggle with this idea of like what's raw and what's polished and all this stuff, and what the world wants you and what the algorithm wants, right? But I think at the end of the day, I do still create content for this kind of stuff as well, like things that are raw and stuff, and the cinematic ones as well. And even, for example, like most of the videos that I've showed you here are a little bit longer than what any social media platform will want you to post. Because once you post a video that's a bit longer, it's a little bit harder to get reach. But for myself, actually these videos, I always tell myself that I I make these videos for my own way to remember it as well. And of course, if you're working for the social media algorithm and stuff, of course I still create those videos as well. It's not something that I don't do. But if you, so like when you plan a video, and like all these videos have kind of like a storyline to it in a way. Yeah, so if you stick to that, I think you will have a video that tells a certain story that you want to tell. And I think it doesn't matter whether it's raw or not. The raw videos are a different genre of videos itself. And I think we all can make those different videos as and then as well. Yeah. So if raw videos are things that you consider like, I don't know, like BTS, is it? Like behind the scenes or stuff like that?
Yeah, something like maybe use your phone to take some time.
Yeah. What's the workflow and approach towards like travel filmmaking in general? In terms of, because I felt that like the way that your video flows is almost, if I were to describe it like perfectly, like it flows so smoothly. So I just wanted to ask, like, when you go to different places, do you have like a short list in mind, or is it like in a location? I think the point that I brought up about, you know how when we see things, you try and see with a new pair of eyes, and a lot of times, like I said, when you go to a location, you will think of like all the Google Maps, different locations that you are going to shoot. Of course, those videos will be part of your video itself, but to connect those dots between everything, you need more elements to it to tell a story about location. But I think first and foremost, I will always tell myself that the country needs a concept, and a country will kind of tell you something about it that feels more to you. So, and with that concept itself, there's always all the like puzzle pieces that needs to be in place, because like making a video that is a little bit longer is always very daunting, even for myself. Like when I edit like a 15-second reel as compared to like edit a 1 minute cinematic, as compared to making a 3-minute cinematic. A 3-minute cinematic is like 100 times harder than actually making a 15-second reel, because of how the story needs to flow. Because like I said, when you're editing a video, there's a lot of ups and downs, and it's very important for you to actually feel the rhythm of the video and know when that, how you say, like when your audience is about to get bored as well, in terms of the shots you take and the things that you are going to capture. So even when I am like shooting, I usually kind of have like a mental checklist of whether this like thing that I'm filming, this subject that I'm filming, or this activity that I'm filming is going to be something that is like action-packed activity. Is it something where I can use a lot of camera movements? Is it something that has to be still? And with that idea, I think you can then eventually kind of like segment your video into what actually works in what part of the video. Yeah. So sometimes for myself, I do listen to a lot of the songs of the countries. Go to the place, then we ask the people there to let us listen to the songs. Then you hear the songs already, you will get an understanding of like how things can flow. And when you're putting like the pieces to the puzzle, I think eventually you will have a lot of the different parts that can fill in the blanks. Yeah. But always remember when you're shooting like the action-packed stuff and the slower stuff, you need to have a good range of all of them to eventually create a good enough long piece. Yeah. And also, of course, your establishings and all that stuff in between as well. So always remember, like for example, one way I always used to connect the dots between a lot of, like let's say there's a lot of different activities, but one way that is it's like unified between everyone is the fact that a country has ways to move around, a country has food that you're gonna eat, a country always has sunrise and sunset. So these things is always in my checklist, right? So I'll just make sure that I will shoot these things so that all the different activities that I have, right, I can connect it in an easier way. Like it can flow smoothly, because from one activity to the next, you need to move. So I will use these things to like showcase it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Okay. One more question. We've got time for one last question.
Because actually, sound design, other than your usual like sound effects pack and this kind of stuff, right? A lot of it is actually experimentation. You have your standard stuff, then a lot of things is like, okay, one trick that I use, right, is like a lot of your sound effects, right? Go and try and reverse your sound effects. Yeah, you speed minus 100%, then you see what you get out of it. So a lot of times I play with a lot of these like things and test out different kinds of sounds in different places. And actually, So like for example, I tend to use a lot of sound designs from like videos of like the 4-hour video of the country. Then the fella just going around the city. Maybe so this car atmospheric sound, you hear the transporter. So those kind of things are also I tend to use some of them as well. It's just how you blend all these things together with your different ambient sounds. So like in terms of like sound design, there's a couple of different types of sound design as well. There's like ambient sound, there's like your sound effects, and there's sound design that is specific to that activity itself. So one thing that I think I always try to use is also the sound that is from that place. Yeah, then you try and blend everything together. But I think with sound design, you need to know that sound design only works if you do it together with your audio track. So your beats need to hit together with your audio track for your sound design to sound smooth. If not, it will sound very out of place.
Okay, I think with that, we'll wrap up the Q&A session. Thank you so much, Jerome. One more round of applause.